Hi everybody. So I'm a bit flustered. I'm just getting ready to leave, and as I suffer with terrible ADHD, I've left it until the last minute. Never even tried my luggage. A little bit concerned that that's touching the exhaust, or it's not touching at the moment, but I'm going to try and strap it up so it's a bit higher. And I'm leaving for Norway. The goal is to get as far as Dortmund, Germany tonight. The time now is 9:30 in the morning. I don't leave here until quarter three maybe, on the Eurotunnel. My 1290 is mostly packed. I've got one more bag to go on the back. Only a very, very small amount of luggage. I actually bought this cheap Rhino Walk soft luggage opposed to Krieger for the sole purpose that a friend of mine had it and it looked really good. So I've got two 15-litre bags. Annoyingly, and I'll turn the camera around and show you in a minute, I've had some dramas with prepping the bike. But the bike is mostly ready. Obviously, Jack over at Progressive Performance has now fixed the suspension. Say fixed it, adjusted it, so it's got new springs for my weight and everything else. And I'm very, very happy with it at the moment. Even on the road, it was actually set up for off-road, but on the road, it's actually fantastic. So I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you the bike and my setup. So, as you know, 2019 Super Adventure R. Predominantly set up for off-road. I've got the 50/50 tyres. I do a lot of road miles, but I have been doing a lot more off-road miles, so we're trying to follow the TET. Obviously I've set this up a lot more for touring now because I'm going to be 5-6 days on the road, hence the really ugly screen. That's a PUIG screen. I think it only looks so massive because of how small the OEM one looks, but I'm sure it'll keep the wind off me. I can just about see that much over the windscreen, so about 7 inches over the windscreen. 2.5. The buffeting on this was quite bad with the little screen, so I'm hoping that does solve that. The triple clamp mounting kit, that's been a real nightmare. Triple clamp moto, it was a kit or a website that I found that was selling what they call a head straight set, which allowed you to mount a Scott's steering damper. And for those of you that know these bikes, know that the OEM damper is absolute horse crap. So I really wanted to mount a Scott's steering damper. I've left this part on just because it gave a little bit of a bar rise, which I actually quite liked. I tried contacting them to explain that they'd sent me the wrong parts, they didn't fit, you know, their support. I messaged them on Facebook, 3 or 4 emails. I've had 1 reply in 5 days. I explained to them that obviously I was taking the bike and was filming content with it and was really hoping to include their products in that whole video and everything, but it's a shame that in one respect I suppose I've had to actually put a negative review up. I was really hoping to get that fitted before going, because obviously the steering damper from factory, which thankfully is still fitted, is really, really terrible on road and off road. Jack at Progressive Performance did really sort it out in terms of adjusting the headstock a little bit, and I noticed that it does have some resistance now, and at 120 miles an hour on a private closed track, I can assure you that there was no kind of squirreling like they usually do, and it felt pretty stable actually. So I'm hoping that at least the bits that Jack has done have made a difference. I'll talk to you a bit more in detail about what he's done and how he set the bike up, but the ins and outs of it are that he replaced the rear spring for a weighted spring, because obviously I'm extra medium, so I weigh 110 kilos, and the front springs have been changed for weighted springs also. He's also increased the oil capacity to 810 millilitres, or maybe the height to 810 millimeters, one or the other, and increased it to 7.5 weight oil. It's a lot stiffer, but actually it reacts way, way better to the small stuff on the road, which I was thinking was probably going to be the opposite. He also, in amongst all that, took my chain off, fully cleaned it, put it all back together, and I'm very happy with that because I've neglected it terribly. I spent a bit of time yesterday when I was prepping the bike actually getting that chain really degunged. I mean, completely cleaned it, and then really properly lubed it, because one thing that I noticed on my last European trip was that trying to find chain lube in Italy, Switzerland, Austria is an absolute nightmare. But yeah, the trip is that we're heading from here over to Germany, obviously via France, Belgium, Holland, and then heading north into Denmark, Sweden and Norway. It was never the plan to go there. The reason we're going there is because the whole of Europe has got like a thunderstorm with rain for 6 days now. except Norway, Denmark and Sweden has 23 degrees and sunshine. So yeah, really happy with that. The tyres on the bike are the Dunlop Trail Max Raids. I was going to swap them out for the Trail Max Meridians. As you guys know, we obviously supply those tyres, so I've got an endless stock of stuff to try. But what I thought was, if we did end up on a gravel track, I'm going to really regret that choice. However, I don't think I'll regret it on tarmac, because having used these tyres consistently on tarmac, they're fantastic. By far the best dual sport tyre I've tried yet. Currently running 42 psi in the rear and 38 in the front. I believe that's OEM spec. Just thought I'd step in here actually and bring up the subject of these tyres. That I'd mentioned that I'd use them a lot on the road, but it was much shorter journey, so I hadn't done a lot of motorway work with the Dunlop Trail Max Raid. And one thing that I had to say was incredibly noticeable was the drone. Above 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, it just droned. It was right at that point in the speedo that you want to sit on the motorway. And it was, you either sit a lot lower or a lot higher. But what I'd realised is I hadn't balanced the front tyre. So anything above 80 miles an hour, and I used to get this horrendous vibration from the front end. I never did solve that, and had decided that actually the Dunlop Trail Max Raids were a great tyre if you weren't going to sit on the motorway for 8-9 hours a day. So lesson learned on that. I think that next time we need to plan whether or not we're going to be off-road, and if we're not, I'm going to use a road tyre, because the trade-off of using a knobbly tyre on the road is that you don't get the handling characteristics of a road tyre. And obviously if you're spending a lot of time on twisty roads and stuff, which there isn't a lot of in Denmark, by the way, incredibly for that country, but we'll get back to that, the knobbly tyres really don't do you any justice at all. In terms of other setup, I've got another set of bar risers. I'm very long in the torso, a quad lock with a wireless charge. I've just downloaded the KTM My Ride app, or the Connect app. Didn't have a lot of luck with it last time, but hoping that it's better this time. Yeah, and I think that's the most of my setup. These Rhino Walk things, if they're any good, we'll stock them, and I'll put a link to our website where you can buy them. You can get them on Temu, but obviously if you're happy to support some local business, we'll try and get them for as best a price as we can, and yeah, see if we can do everybody a decent deal. I do need to finish putting this luggage on. See, this is the ADHD in me. I've got distracted. I figured I'll do a video because I never do a video, and I've not done my luggage up properly. So that would obviously become a problem. My acro pipe, I'm hoping I don't get in trouble for, because obviously I've drilled out the baffles. But yeah, I'll make sure this video doesn't go live until after I'm back, just in case that causes me some dramas. It's quite loud. In fact, I'll give you a little, I think it's in gear, hang on. Oh, I adjusted the gear lever, camo Crocs, yeah. Yeah, I adjusted the gear lever because I found that my foot sort of has to tuck under it rather than being flat and lifting up, so that's better. One of those Chinese brake pedal things actually sticks out no more than the OEM one, so really a bit of a waste of time. It's just a bit longer. I think that's it really. The rest of the bike is OEM. The reason for the small luggage is last time I did a European tour I had the great big boxes. I can't remember who made them. I'll come back to you on that, but the boxes were great, really fantastic quality, except they stuck out so much further than the mirrors. And I just found that negotiating with the bike, we had a lot of camping equipment, it was just too heavy and it made it really not enjoyable. I struggled to kind of get where I wanted to be speed wise, and you know, there was lots of places where having that much luggage was a disadvantage. So I'm trying to keep it very neat and tight. That's 5 days worth of clothes, washing. We're staying in hotels or Airbnbs, and again, that's something I'll talk to you a bit about on the video later on. We've had a fantastic experience with Airbnbs, had some really amazing places to stay, just completely on the whim. Nothing is planned, no route is planned. I have absolutely no idea where we're going to be and when we're going to be there, and that's really the majority of the fun of it really for us. But catch up with me in a bit. I'm heading off in about an hour, so hopefully the bike performs well on its maiden voyage with all the new stuff, which is actually on the way to the train. But it's okay. it's okay. I react very, very well in high pressure situations. So if something goes wrong, I'll probably just dump that stuff on the side of the road or strap it on with loads of straps that I'm going to bring, and it'll be fine. Yeah. If you enjoy watching my content, please like and subscribe and click the bell so that you get a notification every time I upload a new video. This will go a long way towards supporting the channel and make it a better place to view content like this. If you'd like to see more content, then please hit the subscribe button. If you feel that I've missed anything that you'd like to know about, why not hit the comments, let me know. I'd love to hear some feedback, as if there's some specific things people would like to know about on these trips, or how we navigate, how we use Airbnb, where we're staying. You know, there's lots of things that I'd like to create content on, and I would love some inspiration from you guys. On the subject of Airbnbs, it's probably worth mentioning that I like to wind people up when booking Airbnbs. I find the quirkiest and most stupid places, and I say stupid, I don't mean it in an offensive way, the most silly and quirky places I can find, and just gauge the reaction of everybody else basically. The bike's now fully packed, and I'm just about to head off for the train and a long wet ride through Germany. I obviously also fitted a set of Acerbis, I don't know how you say it, I suppose it's the same as a Krapovic, but we will not get into that. That's a minefield there. I fitted the Acerbis handguards, the X-Factory Panorama ones, obviously made for enduro bikes. I had to do some slight modifications. It's not a bodge, is it? It works, doesn't it? I mean, the only reason I had to do that was to stop it from hitting the master cylinder. I've got the tiniest amount of play. But yeah, as I off-rode the bike, I wanted something good. I had these in stock. I also had some bark busters, but the bark busters didn't have the plastic covers, and they only had the 22mm bar options. So again, I had to bodge those as well, so they were no different. I just found that these are okay. If I bend them, I mean, they're sort of £80 a set, so easily replaceable. And I think I've got a few different sets and bits and bobs, so fortunately I've got boxes full of KTM bits. So that is the final luggage setup. I probably still haven't narrowed it down quite as much as I'd like, but it is inside the mirrors, so that probably doesn't need to be quite where it is, but it does keep it away from the exhaust, which is the only thing I was worried about. I mean, the advertisement for these bags did say that they were heat resistant, but no offense to Chinese stuff, but Chinese heat resistance, not so sure on that. The other side's obviously miles away from anything. Again, the bungees that I've put on have probably pulled them out a bit. Looks kind of stupid. Looked better without the top bag. I think I probably could have got away with this, except I've brought some camera equipment and a jumper and stuff. I don't know how cold it's going to get at night in Norway, but it's okay. I mean, they don't sit anywhere near the leg line, although they sort of look like they do. I'd be happier if the bags were further up here. Maybe I'll have a play around with it when I'm over there, if there's nothing to do one day, which is very unlikely, but maybe I'll have a play around, see if I can shift them about a bit, because I suspect the whole thing probably could go back a bit and sit a bit higher up, which would give a bit more room, because obviously this setup with a pillion, you'd have absolutely no chance of sitting a pillion there. So yeah, probably want some work, but as it's only me, it's fine. So that's it, guys. I'm ready to go. I'm going to gear up. That's another bloody decision process that I struggled with, was what gear to wear, because obviously it's quite warm in the UK at the moment. I think it's sort of 20 degrees or something. There's about a day's worth of riding in the rain at 18 degrees. It's still warm but wet. I've got an oversuit that I can put on, but I couldn't decide whether or not to wear textiles or my casual stuff. I've obviously got Kevlar lined jeans and my KTM mesh jacket. The mesh jacket's fantastic for the hot weather, really makes a difference in keeping cool and comfortable. But the textile stuff that I bought, the KTM branded textile gear, the trousers and jacket, is fantastic, but I do get a bit sweaty in it. So really couldn't decide what to wear. Have decided to take the mesh jacket and an over jacket. So I've got a jacket I can put over the top of it if I get a bit cold, because the mornings I remember were quite cold. But yeah, this is the first time I've ever been into the northern part of Europe, but we'll see how we get on. It's all a learning curve. Worst case, I'm pretty sure I could find a KTM dealer and buy some stuffs. So the run up to the Eurostar was smooth, no issues. I think I actually had to turn around as I'd actually forgotten something, but managed to get onto the train where I had a stand-up sleep. I was stood up and my legs completely buckled, and everybody on the train laughed at me because somehow I'd managed to fall asleep. Got to Belgium and found Titty's Palace, and then got back on the road and started heading towards Germany. Dortmund was the goal. There's a game that I do like to play called Service Station Roulette, where we buy brown meaty things and eat them, and I'll tell you a bit more about that now. Playing one of my favourite games, Service Station Roulette, where you buy some sort of meat product from a service station with no idea what it could be and try it. And so far, so good. I've had some pretty terrible ones, but that's not bad. Black coffee, because today's been a bloody long day. So I don't know where we are. Somewhere in Belgium possibly, but yeah, the round meatball was good, and the long thin meatball is pretty good as well. I give this a 3 out of 5. Fuck this, guys. Absolute fucking bullshit, mate. Lovely. I've just heard that it's really lovely and warm in the UK. I'm very, very wet and cold. Currently 13 degrees. I've got 10 kilometres of fuel remaining. I've got absolutely no idea where I am. So yeah, this is probably the end for me. Yeah. So after my little rant, I obviously did get to the Airbnb safe and sound after following signs for Ausfahrt. I saw a sign on the motorway multiple times for Ausfahrt, thinking, God, that must be a huge city. There's bound to be a petrol station there, only to be told later that Ausfahrt in German means exit. So I kept going on and off the motorway with zero fuel.
Going on exploring on Quirky Airbnb.
The lady that owned this Airbnb was absolutely amazing. They'd waited up late for me to turn up, and as soon as I got in, there was hot food waiting for me that I just showed you, and the lady took all of my wet clothes off me and put them in the drying room, which was fabulous.
These stairs are sketchy.
So this is your room.
This is amazing.
This is your room.
Yeah.
This is the toilets.
So having checked, it turns out this Airbnb was actually €68 a night for this whole top flat, and it was the first time she'd ever actually rented out as an Airbnb, and it was fantastic value for money.
It's not on though.
You're on the side there.
It smells nice though.
Yeah. Bird songs.
I called for help twice, not a fuck you or what do you need or nothing.
Yeah. Light for the thingy in the.
What? You got fucking scale electrics? What? What? There's a Land Rover. This place is mad.
Isn't it?
€58 a night,
I
boys.
can't believe it. Really, I've forgotten the woman's name.
What the fuck?
It's crazy, isn't it? There.
So with it being nearly midnight after a 13-hour day, we went to bed. The next morning, turned the sauna on, and we're just getting ready for a slower start. We're getting in the sauna and then going to go and have a quick look at a bit of a feature that this Airbnb had. Oh, Gordon, that's warm, mate. Okay, go.
This is me running.
That's you running. Gordon's actually 69 years old, maybe 70, something like that.
You skin disease or anything, huh?
Well, if I wasn't before, I probably am now. It's a bit murky. It's a bit slippy there, mate. Don't break a hip. Guys, this is at the bottom of the garden in the hotel. I say in the Airbnb we're staying at. And they've got a nature swimming pool, cold dip. So we've just done 20 minutes in the sauna and now straight down here. Good.
And now it's Dale. Dale the whale. No! Oh. Did you hear that? He broke the wooden walkway.
That was a bit longer. There's just one long board.
Yeah, that just went...
Did my backflip look good?
No. I missed it. Go off the diving board.
I think I've just pulled my big toe. Is that even possible?
Well, I'm not surprised with the what's his name. I have a specific diving board, look.
Yeah, true that, yeah.
No running on the edge of the pool. You know the rules, mate.
You were running in the house naked earlier, covered in baby oil.
Well, that's in the house. Whatever you do in your own house is your own thing. Zoom in on his pants. It's all right, we'll never see that from here.
Never see the birds might get it though.
Early bird gets the worm.
Can't do a backflip, I don't even know if I want to try.
Yeah, but it's not very high, so I wouldn't dive in. That's why I did a backflip without extending. I didn't know how deep it was.
Well, if you wouldn't dive in, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Then, good man.
Oh, my willy came out.
You do look like you got a bit of a German haircut now. You're coming out in sympathy.
Anything racist.
It did look like the haircuts that they had back in the day.
Stop it.
The European Tour of 39.
You're about to ruin the audio on my YouTube video. European Tour of 39. Right, sauna, stop looking at my video.
Yeah.
There's a bit more of a tour of the premises.
It's killing the fish.
It's killing the fish. Put that fish down. No fish were harmed in the making of this video, just so you're aware. That's a fake fish. What an absolutely stunning place for 68 euros a night. And a man after my own heart. That's actually a workshop in there with a 2-post ramp. So back up for another blast in the sauna. And then on with the day. Man after my own heart, look. Little workshop. Right next to the house. Larder. You'll probably get used to this, but most of our trips revolve around food. Because I don't drink alcohol, I indulge in other things like way too much food, which normally consists of meat and chips. Not totally sure what this sign meant, but obviously some people get creative on the toilet. Bit of a jump here. We've actually got from Germany all the way to Denmark. There wasn't really much to record other than the food stop that you just saw. And the weather change has been completely noticeable. It's gone to clear skies, 25 degrees. I mean, the flies were everywhere. And we're just about to get to our first or second Quirky Airbnb stop. So we've just arrived at our stop for the night in Denmark, and of course in true Airbnb style, I've booked the most stupid place I could find. Not stupid, that's rude.
Yeah.
The most quirky place I could find. Maybe we'll see the Northern Lights tonight. Beautiful view, yeah, I'll show you the view to begin with. Look at this like Victorian looking greenhouse, absolutely stunning. View of the ocean. And we've got ourselves a nuclear bunker. Not sure what it's made out of, it's quite solid. And inside, a couple of tiny little beds, £55 a night. Bliss. Gordon likes my choice of hotel tonight. Beautiful view over the ocean in Denmark.
I am moving to Denmark. I'm moving
Nuclear
to Denmark.
bunker.
I'm putting up that octagon tent and charging £55 a night.
£55 a night. Imagine, we could be millionaires, Rodney. She said if you want to make it dark, there's some blankets in the greenhouse to put over the windows. Because I think we're probably so far north, I bet it doesn't get dark until well gone midnight.
Yeah, they might be past that, mightn't it?
So it's getting on a bit for time now. I think we're about 9 p.m. or something like that. And decided to just go out for a little explore and see if we can find some meat and chips. Normally in this part of the world it's sausage or bratwurst or whatever they call it over there. But just riding along the coast, this is the ocean that you could see from the Airbnb, and it's phenomenal. I mean, the weather up here was 23 degrees, really mild, just lovely riding weather, which is such a massive contrast from what we'd had in Germany, or at least what I'd had. I think Gordon on his trip, which started a couple of days before mine, didn't really get much rain, but on the way over, I have to say, possibly the worst riding conditions I've ever been in. And it was sideways rain for hours and hours. And honestly, the 13-hour trip that I did was nearly the end of me. I ended up in the middle of a German forest with no fuel, absolutely no idea where I was, following signs for Ausfahrt. Obviously, it was a bit of a joke later on. What a place. I have to say, Denmark didn't rank highly on my list of places that I'd like to go. But by God, am I glad I came. I don't know if it's just the weather that makes everything better, but the place we've just had dinner and the bits we've seen so far have been absolutely stunning. Gordon, I expect, stopped to have a look at the scenery as well on his 1050, which I have to say has been actually a really surprisingly very good bike. So quiet here. Yeah, very happy. We're 3.5 hours away from Sweden, which is somewhere we're really going to try and get to tomorrow, and just have a hopefully a really good couple of days. Just taking the opportunity to soak up the scenery and how stunning it was, take some photos and admire this sunset, which was at nearly 10 p.m. It was absolutely amazing. As Gordon's watching the tour of yesterday's premises, I figured we better do a tour of today's premises. Over there you've got Gordon in his bed, and over here me in my bed, and that's it really.
Killing the fish.
As you can imagine, we were up at the crack of dawn, but I've got to say this was probably the least value for money I've ever had in an Airbnb at £55 a night. Those windows let in all the light at about 4 a.m. This was about 6 a.m. the following morning from the £55 Airbnb, and managed to find that absolutely stunning little off-road spot, which we think might have been an army training area, so left it pretty quickly. Very sandy, and what I'd realised was that huge screen that I've got made off-roading nearly impossible. You had to stand up and you could barely see over the thing. But all in all, so peaceful, so quiet, and just really bliss. We carried on riding for a little bit, trying to find somewhere to have breakfast. I think Danish pastries were high on the agenda for the morning breakfast, and obviously a coffee. So en route to try and find one of those. We spent a lot of time on Google trying to find places to eat and drink, and we'd stumbled across this place, which was an award-winning bakery that sold Danish pastries. Incredibly busy early in the morning, but we had a fantastic breakfast there. We'd headed over towards Sweden and the bridge that links Sweden and Denmark, and this bridge was enormous, and it was miles and miles long. Jumped on that with really the view of just kind of stepping toes in Sweden, so we could say we've done it. The views across the bridge, as you could probably imagine, were fantastic as well. And really, this whole part of the trip had been really nice with the weather being so good. Here we are on the other side of the bridge in Sweden officially. So this is one of the most southern parts in Sweden. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the word, but it was quite windy, and as I didn't have a mic set up and still haven't, I'm working on that. I did do a bit of audio and was just explaining, like you've heard 100 times already, that the place was amazing. This was as far as we were going to go, and just in the distance you can see how long that bridge is. It stretches miles, and I will try and include the distance in the captions, but it was shocking how long that bridge was. We stopped here for a little bit of food. We went around a local town and obviously had meat and chips, which is what you do, right, when you're traveling Europe on a motorcycle and can't read any of the menus. We stayed a little while and then started to head back towards Denmark and ultimately home. So quite a brief stop and heading back over the same bridge that we came in on. And I've got a bit of a backstory. Gordon is very precious about his bike. And a few days before we left, or a few days before he left for this trip, he was having some trouble with his bike. So as a good mate, I head over there to help him out. And this is what happened.
7:30 in the morning, come out to try and help Gord fix his bike. What did I do? Rolled down from there, kicked it in gear, fucking dropped it, didn't I? Not dropped a bike in 10 fucking years. Dropped Gordon's bike. Couldn't have dropped anybody else's bike but Gordon's. Luckily he's taken it like a champ so far.
Obviously, as you can imagine, Gordon's quite out there, as you've probably seen from part of the video, and that wasn't the last time I heard about the fact that I dropped his bike. As I mentioned, that was the first time I've dropped a bike by accident that was not off-roading in nearly 10 years. And have to say I felt absolutely terrible about it. So we managed to source him a new brake lever and some other bits, and had agreed a gentleman's agreement that I would rectify the damage on the bike by giving him something to a monetary value. I can't remember what it was now, but I'm pretty sure it worked out all right in the end. I have to be honest, I did expect a bit more of a reaction. When I dropped it, I thought, oh no, this is the end of Gordon and Andy's road trip to nowhere.
So I've booked room 3, as you can probably see from the tents. This is what we've got in the stunning countryside of this Danish home.
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?
Semi-racist, but yeah, right. So yeah, this is home tonight.
Semi-racist.
This place, the guy was just telling me they bought it recently, 2 years ago, and it's massive. I mean, like, you can probably gauge how big it is based on the motorbike against the house. In the back they've got like a restaurant with calf. They've got the 3 big bell tents. They paid £200,000 for this, maybe a little bit less. It's in the middle of the most beautiful scenery and about 15 minutes away from a pretty major town in this area. £200,000 in Denmark. What amazing value for money. It sort of shows, doesn't it, how wrong we've got it in the UK. And this is a great little business. I mean, these are about £70 a night to rent. And they're cool. I mean, the guy was saying they're made in China, but actually they're quite nice quality for made in China tents. They've obviously got a really lovely little setup here with them. So electricity, toilet and shower and everything over there. Yeah. Guy Gordon over there, we found a buffet, but it's not a normal buffet. We've got a barbecue, charcoal barbecue in the middle of the room. You take all of your own meat and you cook it on the barbecue yourself, plus all the buffet over there with the Danish food is just amazing. Gordon's really excited.
How did that happen?
So we're just finishing up dinner at this all-you-can-eat buffet that we found that was amazing, and enjoying one final sunset in Denmark before heading to a ferry that connects Denmark to Germany in the morning. We're jumping on the ferry and heading back to Germany for one more night in another Airbnb before a leg home. Heading through some beautiful German woodland countryside, and I think we were both feeling pretty rough at this point. Long straight roads coming off the motorways to try and add a bit of diversity to the ride, because it gets a bit samey before we get to the Airbnb. So this was our final stop, and 20 minutes after we got there this storm came over, and it was yeah, pretty wet. Glad not to be in that. Quite a bit of thunder actually, thunder and lightning for a few hours, which was lovely. Couldn't record much at this Airbnb because Gordon had decided he was going to be nude for most of the stay. We got up the next morning and pretty much head back, and that's when we picked up some more of this. We've got some more service station roulette with a brown in bun, long brown, and slightly less brown with white stuff in it. Yeah, the brown in bun was probably my favourite, some kind of rib combo. This is being created about a year after that Sweden trip. I had been compiling this content for a long time prior to the trip, and had decided that I was going to one day create YouTube videos on motorbikes. So we're here, I'm home obviously now, but we got home, I didn't record a lot of footage on the way back because I think it was just a flat out motorway bash for 13 hours. I remember that last day was a bit of a slog. I think we jumped on the bikes early in the morning and just ate at service stations and rode non-stop. And I think it probably took about, yeah, 13 hours, something like that. Got the bike back, and in typical motorcycle touring challenge sort of style, I dumped the bike in the garage and I completely forget I own it for 3 months. I don't even touch a bike again after that. I think the final mileage came in at 2,800 kilometers over 5 days. So didn't really have a lot of time on this one. Just went out, got as much done as possible. And as you probably have noticed from this point in the video, didn't make it to Norway. In fact, very nearly didn't even make it to Sweden. I think in hindsight, I probably should have spent a bit more time enjoying the bit in the middle and spent a bit more time in Denmark. But the thing about Denmark is, if anybody's ever been to Holland, it's very similar to that. It's just flat, straight roads with low speed limits. And there really wasn't much that I'd seen at that part of Denmark that excited me. I couldn't find anything on the terrain map that looked even remotely like a mountain. So whether or not I go back there, don't know. But thank you very much for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I'll be back soon with some more.